Good morning, everybody, and thank you for everybody who braved out the weather to be here today. I am Council Member Louis Vieira, Chairman of the HART Board of Directors. Please silence all electronic devices for the duration of the meeting. Welcome to the August 5th, 2024 Board of Directors regular meeting, which is now called to order. The meeting format is hybrid, with board members physically present at the HART Administrative Office, 1201 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and participating via communication media technology. Please, if you don't mind, stand if you're able to do so and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Director Cameron Cepeda. Here. Director Hartfield. Director Henderson. Director Hobbs.
Present.
Director Knight. Yep. Director King.
Present.
Director McAlpatrick.
Present.
Director Mechanic.
He's here.
Yep. Director Miller. Director Myers.
Here.
Director Schisler.
Here.
Chair Vieira.
Here.
Director Williams.
Here.
Director Wolstel.
Here.
You do have a quorum, sir.
Thank you very much. For first off, is Commissioner Miller here virtually, or?
She's on her way.
Okay. Then you know what? I'll wait to welcome her until she comes, if that's all right. Yeah, so we'll go back to that. So first, before we welcome our new board member, Commissioner Miller, is public comment. Before we open public comment, I would like to read the following statement into the record. HART Board Council also has a statement for the board members. The HART Board of Directors welcomes comments from citizens on any issue of concern. Your opinions are valued in terms of providing input to the board members. When addressing the board, comments shall not be directed personally against a board member or staff member, but rather directed at the issues. This provides a mutual respect between the board member, staff, and the public. This board has set aside 30 minutes for public comment in compliance with the HART Board Policy 210-4A. Speakers are able to sign up to speak either in person or virtually at meetings by contacting the board administrator before 5 p.m. yesterday. Speakers were also given an opportunity to sign up in person today. I will call on speakers by name in the order in which their requests to speak have been received. When addressing the board, please state your name and speak clearly. Up to 3 minutes are allowed for each speaker. Next, I would like to invite our HART Board Counsel, Jan McLean, who apparently has a statement for HART Board members. Ms. McLean, you may speak.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, and I apologize. Let me say at the outset that I am attending virtually because I couldn't get out of North Carolina on a plane to get down there with you all, so I apologize. At this point, I do not have a statement in front of me that I need to read into the record. I'm sorry if someone has one for me. I've not been provided such. Okay.
Okay. Is there someone who has the statement?
Can we get confirmation if you can hear my audio, please?
Who's speaking? I'm so sorry, I can't. Councilwoman Henderson?
That was Ms. Henderson.
Who's?
Yes, it's her.
Councilwoman Henderson, did you wish to be recognized? Okay, apparently not.
She asked,
Okay.
she asked if
Can I get confirmation this is?
I can't. Okay, wait.
saying yes,
Who's trying to speak online? If you're not speaking, if you could please silence your self virtually, and
I
if you
can't hear anyone.
Okay. So
Can
Council,
you hear me, Gwen Myers?
yes, ma'am. We can hear you, Councilwoman Henderson. We can. So if somebody could help Councilwoman Henderson virtually. Okay. Can you hear us, Councilwoman Henderson? Oh, can you hear me, ma'am? Okay. If somebody could call Councilwoman Henderson, if you need her cell, please, I have it, and to help her out. So is there an attorney here or anybody here who has the statement that Ms. McLean was going to read? Okay, so as it's not here, we'll move forward then with public comment. I'd like to invite Mr. John Green to come first. I have here, I believe, 5 registered speakers. Mr. Green, go ahead, sir.
Good morning. Once again, I'm here to speak on a policy, and I had copies made so that you could see and follow. Right after the meeting, July 15th, there was a policy that was sent out to all the employees about the electronics. So with the July 15th date, it definitely lets me know that the pressure on these employees coming from Sean McCarthy was there. This is retaliation, and it speaks to, if you go on and read in the second paragraph, where he says that, and this is direct, where he says that it would be no considerations for employees, even with seniority. That's a direct message that he was sending. I understand about the electronics, but what is the electronics, and where can the employees carry the electronics at? This letter is so vague that it gave us an insight to who he is and how he was thinking on July 15th. This is inappropriate. This is retaliation. This is, to me, I would take it as an intimidation, ruling with fear, and it's just unacceptable all the way around to leave here and go and send a termination letter to the employees. Now, I understand the board don't want to have to deal with this, but you got to imagine what the employees have to go through driving the buses, doing customer service their whole 8 hours or 10 hours, whatever it is, then have to come and deal with a manager sending a retaliation letter after a board meeting because he's upset because we coming down here speaking grievances. In other words, the board wouldn't hear this, right? I understand y'all don't get into policies or HART's business, but this is what goes on. This is what I call a pressure campaign letter right here, to rule with fear. Thank you. Sean McCarthy.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, Tina Williams, who's here virtually.
Good morning. Once again, my name is Tina Williams, and I'm coming to you on behalf of the ridership. Ridership has now changed again, August 4th. Once again, we are still having problems with making connections with the routes. Once again, I am going to still continue to talk about the 33 and 48 having delays. We can take a look at today. They only have two buses out on the 33-48. At one point this morning, they only had one bus. The 48 is directly affecting USF students and USF employees and a large majority of our community with disabilities. Once again, board members, I'm encouraging you to take a ride along with me to understand how these new services do not allow people, your constituents, to go places in order to make money to provide for their family. You all keep saying that you have relationships with individuals with disabilities, yet these policies and procedures are not helping them to make connections in the community from which they have to go to, as well as there have been problems with the fare boxes in terms of the Flamingo cards. When the Flamingo cards are not working and we're having issues, and some of the drivers are still retaliating and making inappropriate comments to customers. This system is a total waste of money because it's inconsistent. I also jump back again on the 48. There was planned construction on the 48, and that construction and that detour was not on the app. Now, you all stated to me that the app was due real time, and once again, the app does not include detours. I had to call where to catch the bus on these detours. If you just have an alert, where do I catch the bus? If I'm blind, if I'm a student with a disability and that bus stop is closed and these apps are not telling me where I can get the next bus. It may be 2 or 3 hours before I'm able to catch the next bus. That's all I'm saying. These are easy, fixable things that if HART would just take a look at it and be receptive and not have a closed mind, these are things that can be fixed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your thoughts. Next virtually is Alan Brewster.
Good morning, board members. My name is Alan Brewster, and I have a question for the board members. Who wants Hillsborough County Public Transportation Agency to be in the top 20 transit in the United States? Because they're not in the top 20. Now, I was doing research, and I went on the United States Department of Education website, and Biden administration allotted billions of dollars for major construction projects. And I looked at all of the transit who got money from that money for projects. Illinois, New York, Texas, California, Florida, Miami-Dade received $260 million. Where is HART? Why isn't HART in there? Because they're not a major transit agency. And why is HART not a major transit agency? It all stems from the leadership. Where's the innovation? Where is the novel partnership? Where is it? I don't see it. It all stems from the leadership. Now, I believe if Warren Buffett was the CEO of HART, this transit agency would be turned around within a year. This transit agency has been trending down for over 10 plus years. It's right in front of you. Look at it. Just like the stock market. There are indicators in the stock market to tell you if a stock is trending down. You got higher highs, higher lows, and lower lows. HART just keep making lower lows, which means it's trending down. You have four CEOs in the last 10 years, 4 directors of transportation in the last 10 years. Those are lower lows. When is the board going to put the right leadership to take this agency to a higher level? Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate you. Next, appearing live is Ms. Karen Peebles.
Good morning, Board. Yes, I'm Karen Peoples. I'm here again, as I am every month, and I agree with everybody that spoke before me and everything that they said. But I'm also here in reference to the community and what you board members need to hear. I watch American Greed, and it takes away from everybody, community and all. I also watch Undercover Boss. Undercover Boss goes out generously and pay their employees the way they're supposed to. Let's do this for HART's employees. Let's be generous and give them what they need. They are hardworking people. They're overworked, underpaid, and they're not appreciated by the staff that's higher up. Let's do the right thing. As again, I keep telling you all, I'm a rider. I'm going to keep coming down here, keep telling you, keep talking to you until you understand what's really going on. I challenge you all to come and ride the bus. I have not yet seen not one of you out here. When that's going to happen? Next year? Well, let's do this. Make it in your mind that you need to wine and dine and come and take a ride. Several rides, not one. I'm Karen Peoples again. As I always say, let my name roll off your lips. Let my name marinate in your mind. I got plenty of time. I'll be back next month. And you also thought I wasn't going to come this month because of the rain. It could be snowing, hailing, and whatever out there. I was going to come because they're worth me defending. I'm a rider. I would live in New York. The snow didn't stop me. this wasn't gonna stop me either. Have a great day.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you. Next, I believe, is Mr. Michael Bennett.
Yes, Michael Burnett.
Oh, I'm sorry, misread it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay, so I've been here 19 years. Well, not 19, about 18 and 9 months. So let's talk about Marion Transit. The restroom, the driver's room, it's disgusting. Got rats, it's leaking water, and, rats in the bathroom itself. So, and roaches. It's been going on for months and months and months. So, I don't know. Also, with the cleaning room, it's got mildew in there. The wall is falling apart. It's disgusting. In that Northwest, there's one bathroom. One bathroom for what? You got about six buses that park in there, and drivers got to use one bathroom. That's another problem. So, we just need some help, okay? It's really nasty, especially Marion Transit. We got to eat in there, wait on our relief to come in. I know y'all can do better. I know. So, and last night we had to work in that type of weather again without hazard pay. Again. I just don't understand it because, and we got to work today. So, I mean, you're riding it to come here and then leave. We out there 10, 11 hours. So, again, y'all can do better in that department again. So, I'm just lost for words. I mean, we deserve better. We deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. The last registered speaker I have is Colin Clark.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize because I wanted to talk about the hazmat pay, but somebody said don't even talk about that. So disregard. Thank you.
You sure? Okay. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Nobody else here for public comment that I missed? Okay. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you. Next, I would like to welcome our new HART Board member, newly appointed Commissioner Christine Miller, who's here. Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you. My apologies for the delay
Oh,
in arrival.
no, today's the day to be late. Trust me. You're all right. Trust me.
Thank you for the welcome.
I'd like to briefly read the Commissioner's biography. She will serve the rest of the term previously held by County Commissioner and HART Board member Michael Owen. Christine Miller is President and CEO of the Plant City Chamber of Commerce, where she is committed to meeting the needs of the community with a dual concern for business and quality of life. She is an influential community leader and driving force behind the promotion of commercial, industrial, agricultural, and civic interests in the Plant City and East Hillsborough County footprint. She forges strong connections and lasting relationships with strategic leaders to create a more remarkable place to live and do business, consistently striving to fulfill the mission of promoting economic prosperity through innovative leadership, advocacy, and collaborative community engagement. Her expertise spans the public and private sectors, corporate America, small business ownership, not-for-profit, and nonprofit industries. She holds a Master's of Public Administration from Florida State University, among other educational achievements. Commissioner Miller resides in Plant City with her husband of almost 25 years, Les, who is a lifelong Plant City resident, and her 3 children. She enjoys reading, hiking, and is happiest when spending quality time with her family and friends. Welcome, Commissioner. We're very, very happy to have you, ma'am. And would you like to say any words?
Sure. Thank you for having me. I'm very honored to learn more about this organization and see where I can fit in and help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate you. So again, welcome, ma'am. Anyone else like to say anything on the HART Board? Okay. Welcome, collective welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, now that we're finished, okay, next is election of the vice chair. And I want to make sure for this, do we have every single board member here, either virtually or in person?
That is correct, sir.
Okay, good, because since we had a tie, I don't want, I think that's important. Okay, so I will hand it off to our board counsel.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Board of Directors. We, as the chair indicated, need to elect a vice chair, and under policy 12003, that stipulates that the HART Board officer positions must be filled by at least one county elected representative, and at this time we have 2 City of Tampa representatives and the secretary and the chair. So we could entertain at this time any nominations for the position of vice chair, please.
Move to nominate Commissioner Josh Wastel.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Wassel, will you accept the nomination?
I do.
Are there any other nominations?
I move to nominate Commissioner Myers.
Second.
Oh, thank you. We don't need a second, but thank you very much. And Ms. Myers, will you accept the nomination?
Yes.
Okay. At this time, are there any further nominations, or is the floor closed to nominations? Okay. I'll make a determination the floor is closed. I don't see anyone further indicating. Could we have the votes, please? Danielle, would you take a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Director
Thank
Cameron
you.
Cepeda,
Commissioner Woolston.
Director Hartfield,
Commissioner Myers,
Director Henderson,
Commissioner Myers.
Director Hobbs,
Commissioner Wastel,
Director King,
Commissioner Wastel.
Director Knight,
Commissioner Myers,
Director McAlpatrick,
Commissioner Wastel.
Director Mechanic,
He's server muted.
Director Miller,
Commissioner Wallstone.
Director Myers,
Myers.
Director Schisler,
Commissioner Wastel.
Chair Vieira,
Commissioner Myers, and I believe Board Member Mechanic's microphone is open or whatever. Just
Yeah, I was muted, sorry.
who do you vote for?
I vote for Commissioner Wastel.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate that. Director Williams
Commissioner Myers.
and Director Wallstall.
Commissioner Wastel.
Director Wallstall has 8 votes and Director Myers has 6.
thank you. So congratulations to County Commissioner Josh Wosel for being elected as our HART Board Vice Chair, sir. Would you like to say any words? You're a man of robust words. Go ahead.
I'll just say that I'll continue to fight for the financial stability of this organization. Thank you very much for your trust.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you very much. Next, and anybody else like to say anything? Okay, moving forward. Next agenda item is approval of the meeting minutes from the July 15th, 2024 Board of Directors regular meeting, which were included in the board packet. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion by Board Member Schisler, seconded by Vice Chair Wosel. Roll call, please.
Director Cameron Cepeda?
Yes.
Director Hartfield?
yes.
Director Henderson?
Yes.
Director Hobbs?
Yes.
Director King?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McAlpatrick?
Yes.
Director Mechanic?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Chair Viera?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Wilson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
Oh, did somebody say something? Okay.
Yes, just Jan McLean. Mr. Chair?
Oh, I'm sorry. Board Member Myers, go ahead, ma'am. And Ms. McLean, were you going to, go ahead,
On to the
ma'am.
next item. Okay. Can we waive the rules to hear from our legal counsel before we get under the development and the presentation and all?
Yes, ma'am. You're
To hear from legal counsel?
Yes, ma'am. You're speaking of Mr. David Adams?
Yes.
Okay. And, okay, there is a request by Board Member Myers to
I'll
hear
second
from.
that.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Myers, seconded by Vice Chair Wosel, all in, or roll call. I guess.
Director
I'm
Cameron
sorry.
Cepeda?
And to be clear, I apologize. It was to hear from our attorney, David Adams. It requires a
Yes,
waiver of the
thank you.
rules. Mhm. So motion is to waive the rules.
Director Cameron Cepeda?
Yes.
Director Hartfield?
Yes.
Director Henderson?
Yes.
Director Hobbs?
Yes.
Director King?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McAlpatrick?
Yes.
Director Mechanic?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Chair Viera?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Wilson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, I handed off, I don't know if Ms. McLean speaks or Mr. Adams, if he's here. Oh, there he is, I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
If I could, before Mr. Adams starts,
Yes, ma'am.
this is Shannon McLean again. I just wanted to introduce Mr. Adams, that he is here in response to the request from various board members to have the discussion regarding the COVID-19 grievance discussion that we had last time, that we had several inquiries as far as the status and the process. And so Mr. Adams is the HART's outside counsel for labor, and I would like him to take it for the presentation and to discuss any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Ms. McLean, we appreciate you. And for the record, you have said you have to catch a plane?
No.
I thought I heard that, I'm
yesterday,
sorry.
but I didn't.
Okay, my apologies. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning. My name is David Adams. I'm outside Labor and Employment Counsel for the board. Currently pending under the Labor and Employment Contract is a grievance that was dated May 2nd, 2024, requesting time and a half pay for all of the members of the ATU union for back pay at time and a half. And so that's for the time period November 1st, 2020 through May 11th, 2023. So that's roughly 2.5 years. It's management's position at the current time that this is an attempt by the union to renegotiate a COVID-19 agreement that they made and to recover time and a half wages to waive in exchange for waiving hazard pay in order to avoid layoffs in 2020. So where this starts is the collective bargaining agreement calls for time and a half pay for people who come in and work hazard pay. And as everyone knows, on May 12th, 2020, the Hillsborough County Commission passed an executive order declaring a state of emergency due to COVID-19. As a result, ridership declined significantly because everyone had a fear of spreading COVID-19, and we didn't really know at that time how it was passed. On April 1st, about 2 weeks later, HART, as an operational matter, reduced routes from a full-time schedule to a modified Sunday schedule. This was a drastic reduction in service, probably in the range of 30 to 40%. As a result of the reduced service, there would have been substantial furloughs and layoffs of the union members. And there simply weren't enough routes to employ all of the drivers. So to avoid layoffs, the union and HART entered into an agreement to rotate drivers on the Sunday schedule to ensure that all people would be paid at least, all union members, I shouldn't say all people, all union members would be paid at least 40 hours per week, even if they didn't work 40 hours per week. In exchange for that promise, the union waived the right to receive hazard pay, which is the pay at time and a half during the COVID emergency. I call this the 40-hour agreement. The union waived time and a half under the contract for emergency pay for essential workers in exchange for the promise for all union members to receive at least 40 hours per week so that they could take care of their families during COVID. Many workers actually worked in the range of 20 to 25 hours per week, but as a result of the 40-hour agreement, they were paid 40 hours per week. About 4 months after the 40-hour agreement, the union demanded reinstatement of hazard pay at time and a half. HART declined to do that, but the board did agree to pay $1,500 to each union member in appreciation for driving the buses during COVID-19. The total payout for that was about $1.2 million. About 3 months after the $1,500 bonus, on November 1st, 2020, which coincidentally is the same date as the current grievance, HART announced that it was trying to resume service back to a regular schedule. Again, ignoring the 40-hour agreement, the union filed a grievance in June of 2024 requesting hazard pay effective September 15th, 2020 going forward. The grievance was denied because of the 40-hour agreement. The union, as a result, took no further action, and importantly, under the collective bargaining agreement, if the union doesn't elect arbitration in the next step, once the grievance is denied, then it's deemed, it's essentially withdrawn and can't proceed any further. So now, take your 2020 and put it in the rearview mirror and fast forward about 3.5 years. 2 months ago, as I mentioned earlier, on May 2nd, 2024, the union filed another grievance demanding hazard pay, again, between November 1st, 2020, which was moving towards a regular service again, through May 11th, 2023, which is approximately 2.5 years. Again, this time the grievance was denied because the subject matter was already raised in the 2020 grievance, and the union didn't request arbitration, presumably because of the 40-hour agreement. This is the third time that the union has asked for hazard pay as a result of COVID. Management believes the grievance is unfair because many drivers are already paid 40 hours and when they are working much less. Every single person in the union under ATU, got paid 40 hours regardless. So HART's position is that it kept its end of the bargain and paid all of the union members 40 hours until they attempted to resume regular service in November of 2020. Without the 40-hour agreement, going back to the beginning, there would have been substantial layoffs and furloughs. And the union specifically promised to waive time and a half so long as there weren't layoffs and furloughs. Even today, the union acknowledges the 40-hour agreement, and they acknowledge the $1,500 bonus that cost $1.2 million. But as you've heard from the membership over the last 3 or 4 meetings, they think they deserve more. As Labor Council, it's my recommendation, you have a collective bargaining agreement in place. We now have a grievance from 2024 that's under the collective bargaining agreement. We've selected an arbitrator within the last couple of days to hear that grievance. And as Labor Council, I recommend that you follow the collective bargaining agreement and let the process play out. And however it turns out, it turns out. We've done a rough estimate of the cost of prosecuting this grievance, and the time and a half pay for 2.5 years would be approximately $26 million. And then if the grievance is granted and the arbitrator finds that that amount is payable for some reason, then we would have to look at clawing back the money from the people who didn't work 40 hours but were paid for 40 hours. So it has the potential to be, it's a class action grievance. It affects everybody. It has the potential to be, very expensive and cumbersome. So that's my report, and it's my recommendation that we follow the process and the labor and employment
Thank you.
contract.
And I see Board Member Wosel. I want to make sure, Board Member Myers, you still have your hand up. Did you wish to speak, ma'am, or? And your microphone is off.
No, not at this time. I will come back just making some notes from the report.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Extremely thorough as always. I was curious if we had totaled the potential damages, and the way I would define those potential damages is financially catastrophic to this organization. I'll remind everybody how dangerously close to receivership we just were in, and that would affect everybody's employment at this organization, not just a few. Do we need to take any further action? I mean, it seems like it's already set forth. We have a policy in place. So does this board need to take any further action or just let it play out?
Of course, the board can do whatever the board wants to do, but it's my recommendation, yeah, you just let it play out. You negotiate a labor contract every 3 years. And so there are times when the parties decide they're not going to follow the labor contract, and this is an example of that. And if that's the case, and that's what the parties decide, then you have to let the chips lie where the chips lie. But there's no compelling reason, in my opinion, why the board should override the labor contract that it has negotiated with the ATU union.
I would just say that, Chair Vieira, you have congratulated this board a few times now for always operating. To the new board members that weren't here, we went through some pretty difficult times getting us to where we are today over the past couple of years. And one point that the chair made was that we never allowed partisan politics to enter our decision-making process. And one of the biggest revelations of the OPAGA study from the state that came out, if you haven't read it, I believe it's like 173 pages long, something like that. I haven't read it in a while. I would encourage you to, but it's that one of the biggest outcomes of the problems with this board is that we had continued to inject ourselves as the CEO, rather than letting the CEO be the operator of the organization and us being the policy body of this organization. And I would just, I'm not an attorney, and so I won't say too much more, but I would just hope that all parties heard my message and the words financially catastrophic to this organization is what that number is, in my opinion. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And I see Ms. McLean with her hand up, Board Member Myers and Board Member King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for Mr. Adams for the report. I hope that it has addressed most, if not all, of the questions that were raised last board meeting. I did want to state at the outset, as Mr. Wassel, I believe, alluded to, there is a policy that has been adopted, and it's in Section 140.02, paren 3, with regard to the duties and functions of staff. And if I could just read it for those that don't have it in front of them or are not familiar with it, it states, and this has been adopted by the board, it shall be the policy of the board to prohibit both individually and collectively in the normal employer-employee relationship between the CEO and other employee or employee union of HART. And as Mr. Adams has stated, I believe that there's two bases. There's this policy that should provide the board direction, and there's also that you have a process in place right now that is being pursued through the contract. So my advice to the board would be to align themselves with their policy, not override it, and to follow the process that is in place under the arbitration. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. Next, Board Member Myers and Board Member King, and anybody else.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank Councilor Adams for bringing us this overview of the comments that we've heard from many of the constituents who made public comments regarding this case. Now, today, we have an overview of just where we are. I do agree. Let this play out through arbitration. So therefore, I'm going to move that we let the process plays out through arbitration, and either vote to receive the report. I think we should vote to receive the report from Attorney Adams.
Second.
That would be my motion.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Myers, seconded by Vice Chair Wosel, which, if I understand it, is to take the arbitration report once it comes in, and to let the process play out, if I understood it correctly. Board Member King, go ahead, sir. Yes, sir, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your report. I have just a point of clarification so that we all understand. All of the drivers were fully compensated under the 40-hour agreement. Is that correct?
Well, they were guaranteed 40 hours whether they worked them or not.
But under the terms of the agreement, they were compensated according to what they agreed to.
Correct. It's my belief that HART kept its end of the bargain and paid the 40 hours regardless of whether there was enough work for people to work 40 hours.
Understood. Okay. And the agreement is legally binding?
It's a memorandum of understanding. And so, I want to be clear with the board as to what the facts are. So they had negotiations that those were ultimately put together in a one-page memorandum of understanding, which was signed by Gregory Bracken, who I believe was the director of operations at the time. At the time, ATU was in receivership, and so the union was being represented by Curtis Howard, who was a international vice president with the international group of the ATU. That agreement is not signed, but since then, we've received an email as recently as a week ago where the president of the union has acknowledged that the parties did forfeit time and a half pay for the guarantee of the 40 hours. And so I think it is acknowledged, and they acknowledge the $1,500 payments. So while I don't have a signed memorandum of understanding, it appears that there isn't controversy about the 40-hour agreement. Let me put it that way.
Okay, thank you.
And Board Member Myers, did you have your hand up, ma'am?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And
I have my hand up, but I don't know how to place my hand up.
I'm sorry,
on the
Board
online.
Member Henderson. Go ahead, ma'am. My apologies. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Our Attorney Adams, thank you, for giving me your briefing this morning before the meeting. I do have some concerns, especially as it relates to the memorandum of understanding that is not signed regarding this agreement for the union workers to accept a $1,500 payment and not being paid for their overtime. It wasn't ratified by the union, so that means that they didn't vote as a body to say that this was actually okay, and that the actual memorandum of understanding or agreement really is an unofficial document without everyone being involved. One of the things that really concerns me about this process is that the Teamsters were paid under their contract time and a half. Attorney Adams said he was not aware of that. Or that he can't speak to that issue. That's also a concern to me. Did you offer this same position to, the various unions? When we received funding from the CARES Act, it appears, I'm just speaking as a new person to this board, but the CARES Act, the funds that we received from the federal government were in abundance, and we would be in trouble if we did not have that funding. But that $26 million that would be paid out to the union says to me that they were working, and they were working time and a half. Those who worked less than time and a half, the federal funds would sit here to save jobs. At least that's my understanding of it, so that no one had to lose their jobs, even though our routes were lessened. And so I just have a problem with the overall picture of how this looks, because the union, it just seems really, really ironic to me that a union would have something like this in place that they actually did not vote on as a body or agree to in a memorandum of understanding that is not signed officially, and that you received notice just last week saying that, oh yeah, we did agree to, not receiving the time and a half by one person, not an official body. So this information is just not coming from everyone, and that is a big concern. What did the union have to say to this? Our labor attorney really just got this case recently. So I don't think that even in his report that he's able to provide all of the details regarding it. The COVID-19 agreement is just not clear enough. Even though we have this financial, or possibly this financial crisis, it just doesn't appear as though the union was either well represented by their person, and that the fact that it wasn't signed by the union or voted on by the union makes this very suspect to me, especially in light of that the federal government sent a lot of money our way to save jobs. So that's, and the last thing about, someone pointed out, our obligation not to be involved, 140.02, that should have happened, the moment that they came to us, week after week in public comment. I think someone who was experienced enough on this board should have, knocked that out of the park right away, because the last meeting, we had to say something because they keep coming. And so if that was the case, then we should have dealt with that, at the onset, and we wouldn't be in public comment. I mean, we wouldn't have to address this publicly and just let it play out by through the process of a mediator. So I'm just really concerned because it just doesn't seem that we have really all of the details on both sides of the table, and our financial crisis without the COVID relief money, we would be in trouble right now, because we actually saved, according to the meeting last month, we actually saved that money for a rainy day, and we would definitely be in trouble without it. So it's a very difficult situation to be in as a new board member. I just have concerns on both sides of it, and but I do agree that, it should be handled through arbitration. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. I see Attorney McLean with her hand up. I see Mr. Schisler, and then Vice Chair Wosel, I think. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. I just wanted to provide a caution as to how far we go in the discussion of this, and with regard to the policy, anyone is able to come up in public comment and speak to the subject matter that they would like to, whether they do it once or in multiple occasions. We had Mr. Adams working on this over the course of the years, and we pulled together this report as requested the board, hopefully in a timely manner, so that you could get the context of the length of time on which the agency has been working on this, and the process which has been pursued, and which is continuing to be pursued. So I just wanted to place a caution on that. And I know there are new board members that are not familiar with the policies, and that's why I read them out this morning, so that we would all be on the same page, at least with regard to this subject matter going forward.
Thank you, ma'am. Board Member Schisler, then Vice Chair Wosel. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to reiterate that sentiment. We've been advised by council to let the process work. We even voted on it to let it work. So let's let it work. Okay, we could beat this horse from now till doomsday, and until the arbitration process is completed, it's not going to get settled. So there's a lot of factors that come into play with this, and I think we need to let it lie and let it work its way out of the work without any further interference by this board. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Comments by Vice Chair Wosel, unless if there's anyone else. Remember, we have a motion on the floor, which I will repeat for everyone's recollection. Go ahead, sir.
I only queued after those comments. If there is further debate, I'm going to motion to call the question, which requires a 2/3 vote, because we should end this debate. So if not, then I'll just...
Does anyone else wish to speak? It would appear not. Okay, let's take it. And I'll say, if I may, this is a motion right now by Board Member Myers, seconded by Vice Chair Wosel, to let the process play itself out and to have the report come to us once it's finished from the arbitrator. And that's it. Go ahead.
Director Cameron Cepeda?
Yes.
Director Hartfield?
Yes.
Director Henderson?
Yes.
Director Hobbs?
I said yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Director King?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McElfachek?
Yes.
Director Mechanic?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Chair Vieira?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Wostel?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Board, and thank you, sir. We appreciate everybody here. Okay, next, we move forward to the fiscal year 2025 proposed budget. We would ask our CEO, Mr. Scott Drainville, if you would please introduce the item, sir.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning again, board members. The HART Board of Directors has had a few opportunities now to review the proposed FY 2025 budget, operations expenses, and service levels. This presentation will cover all changes that were incorporated in the proposed budget since the last review by the board. So Ms. Melanie Williams, Director of Budgets and Grants, will present.
Good morning. Chair, members of the board, and Mr. Drainville. My name is Melanie Williams. I'm the Director of Budgets and Grants. Today, I will present the fiscal year 2025 proposed operating and capital budget. The intent today is to discuss the proposed budget. This is subject to change based on this discussion today, and additional review from Mr. Drainville and the staff. After the budget deliberations over the next month, the final budget will be presented to the board in a public hearing on September 23rd for final review. This is the agenda for today's discussion. We're going to discuss the FY25 budget development calendar, the budget legislative from the HART Charter, schedule of COVID relief funds, the budget assumptions for revenue, the projected service, the budget assumptions of expenses, the proposed operating budget, the 5-year capital plan for summary in detail, the FY25 capital budget summary in detail, and the fund reserves. The next slide shows the budget calendar. We have 2 presentations in August, one today to the board, and one on August 19th to the Finance and Audit Committee. In September, we will have 2 required public hearings, one on September 9th at 5:30 p.m. The board adopts a tentative millage rate and tentative budget. The advertisement for the public hearing is included on the back of the property tax bill from the property tax appraiser. The second public hearing is on September 23rd at 5:30 p.m., and this is for the board to adopt the final millage rate and final budget. Next, this is insert from the charter, Section 2, Special Region Taxation. It shows we use 1/2 mill tax rate to budget for the Avalon revenues. This next slide is included due to a request from a board member on how the COVID relief funds were spent. We received $103,378,662 in COVID relief funds. This slide clearly shows that 100% of the funds were spent on operations. We have wages and fringes for the ATU and Teamsters at $79.7 million. And then the operation-related expenses, including the fuel and oil, of $10.6 million, parts and supplies, $11.8 million, and utilities at $1.1 million, giving us that $103,378,662. Next is the budget assumptions for the revenues. We have the Avalon tax revenues is based on the proposed millage rate of the 0.5 mils. It is estimated that we receive $81,806,798 of revenues. By statute, however, HART can only budget at 95% of this Avalon proceeds. Therefore, the budget assumption is $77,716,458. This represents a 6% or $4.8 million increase from FY24. Also, the Avalon transfers to capital is $4.1 million, and this amount is used to fund the capital projects or the local match for those capital projects. Next, we have the federal operating grants at $2.7 million. The state operating grants at $7.7 million, and you can see the different programs there. The fair revenues at $11.2 million. The local contributions at $1.3 million. We have the advertising income at $1.5 million. Other income, $499,342. The Tampa Historic Streetcar at $3.1 million. The interest income at $2.3 million. So the FY24 budget included an $18.5 million transfer to the operating reserves. However, there is no funds budgeted to transfer to the operating reserves in FY25. So this next slide shows the proposed service for FY25. Last month, a presentation was given to Mr. Willis, our Director of Planning, and he had a presentation discussing the service in detail. For all three modes, HART proposed the revenue miles at 9,085,452. We have the revenue hours at 721,227 for all modes, and the ridership at 14,360,847. Next, we have the budget assumptions for expenses. We have salary and wages at $57,407,953, and this is based on 814.75 FTEs. We have the fringe benefits at $12.7 million, which makes up 22% of the salaries and wages. We have healthcare, which makes up 24% of the salary and wages, at $13.7 million. And this healthcare was an increase of 14% from FY24. And together with the fringe and benefits and healthcare, it makes up 46% of the salary and wages. Next, we have the operation contract services at $10 million. And you can see a description of what is included in those contract services. We have parts and supplies at $6.2 million. Again, you can see the description, what's included in the parts and supplies. We have the fuel at 5.1, and then we have the fuel cost projection of the CNG 1.25 for diesel at $4 per gallon, and unleaded at 3.6 per gallon. Next, we have administrative other at $3.9 million, and you see the description with items that are included in there. We have the administrative contract services at $2 million. Next, we have the legal services at $500,000 and utilities at $1.2 million. Marketing and printing at $477,843. And then we have taxes and fees at $354,183. Okay, so the next two slides summarizes the operating budget, including the FY25 proposed budget, including the FY26 plan and FY27 plan. So the total revenues is $117,305,565. Next, we have the operating expenses for the operating budget. To balance that budget, $117,305,565 in operating expenses. I want to point out the personnel cost of $83.9 million, which makes up 71.53%, and that's the salary and wages, the fringe benefits, and the health care. Okay, so the HART Board policy requires a minimum of 90-day reserve of operating expenses and expenditures. The operating reserve based on the proposed operating budget is $28,924,660. We have a projected balance as of October 1st of 2024 at $37.5 million. This slide shows a schedule of all the reserves. Currently, we have a total of $47 million in reserves. $37.1 million is for the operating reserves. Then we have two self-insurance reserve, the risk reserve and the medical benefit reserve at $2.9 and $708,000. Next, we have the capital match reserve at $4.8, and these are for capital projects. And then FTA liability reserve at $1.3. Included in the schedule, we have the projections for 10/1/2024 and the projection for 9/30/2025. This increase is due to the interest earned, with the exception of the capital match reserve, because we do plan on spending those reserves, the capital reserves, and utilizing that, and replenishing that at that $4.5 million, as you see for the projection of 9/30. So the next slide, you see the 5-year capital plan, which totals $301,531,125. With the first year of the capital plan is the FY25 budget at $71,046,221. And then we have the FY26 capital plan at $41 million, the FY27 capital plan at $72 million, FY28 capital plan, $90 million, in the FY 2029 capital plan at $26 million, giving us that total for the 5-year capital plan at $301,531,125. The next several slides list the details of the capital plan. We have the vehicles and maintenance totaling $111,573,542. Next, we have the facilities and construction totaling $147,982,991. We have the technology total at $12,738,597. And then we have the other categories for the 5-year capital plan. We have bus stops and shelters totaling $25,945,086. Then we have the planning and studies totaling $1,050,000. And then safety and security totals $2.2 million. So as stated, the first year of the 5-year capital plan is the capital budget. So this slide shows a summary of the FY25 capital budget with the funding or revenue source along with the proposed projects. Here at $71 million, you have the total capital revenues at $71,046,221. Of that 71 million, we have 32,688,247 for discretionary funds, and these are grants that we have to compete for. Then we have the projects to balance that at 71,046,221. Next, we have the FY25 capital budget in detail. We have the vehicles and maintenance at $25,318,162. And as you see, the major project here is the purchase of the CNG buses for $13.1 million. We have the transit vans for $3.6 million. And we have the radio system for $6 million. Next, we have the facility and construction totaling $24,132,991. The major categories here, the projects, is the heavy maintenance building for $19.8 million. And we have an operation control center for $1 million, and then the Merit Transit Center upgrade. Next, we have technology at $12,155,825. And the main project here is the CAD AVL system at $10.1 million. Next, we have the other categories in the FY25 budget. It's bus stops and shelters, and that's at $8.3 million. We have planning and studies totaling $450,000. And then we have the safety and security total at $601,205, making the capital budget at $71,046,221. And that concludes my presentations. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. We really appreciate your very detailed, thorough report and all the effort that went into it. Do we have any questions from board members? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You did a great job as always. First, do we know if the few remarks/dings that we got on the audit have been cured in this next fiscal year's budget? I think there was one that they said had been marked in there a couple of times from the auditor. Do we know if that's been cured?
Ms. Kirk?
I think it's something that Board Member Hartfield and I talked about during the audit meeting. There was one line item, I'm not recalling it right now.
Okay, thank you for that question. And to Mr. Drainfield and the board, the outstanding audit issue was really the completion of the hiring in the accounting department and then training of the accounting staff on policies and procedures and closing. And we finished that training in July.
Okay, good. I thought we still had one more line item about budgetary, but I see the Flamingo money that you have line itemed in here on slide 31, fare system enhancements. We've got some complaints. Are we sure that Flamingo is still the most optimal option for I have the app downloaded. It does seem kind of clunky, but I mean, is this, what are the enhancements that we're going to pay for? Because it's almost $500,000, so I'm just curious.
So I don't have the specific enhancements, but staff has concluded that, yes, this is the right way to go, to utilizing the open payment, and as the technology evolves, we'll be also evolving with that technology. I don't know if someone from PMO is there can speak on the specifics of Flamingo.
Because if we decided we don't like it, now would be the time for us to speak up.
Good morning, Dan Rodriguez, HART PMO. I have a few notes. A couple of enhancements I see listed on is a TAPS back pass feature, a student discounts. They have some transfer features being added and some fraud prevention.
Okay, so because we partner with the school systems, so this is going to make it easier for parents and kids. Okay, good. Thank you very much for that. On the Tampa Historic Streetcar, it's quite a significant jump. I know that we don't charge riders, and government accounting is well, it's weird compared to normal business. So it doesn't generate revenue, or do you consider revenue the fact that I know that the city of Tampa provides a subsidy? Is that what you're considering, is like, that's the payment of revenue, you just are charging them?
So the significant amount this year is, I had directed staff to go through like an internal cost allocation plan to look at indirect costs that was actually costing HART to run the streetcar. And I think you brought it up to, in a past meeting, the question was, is it cost neutral? Or what does it cost HART to run the streetcar? And another board member said it was cost neutral, but when I dug into it, it's not actually cost neutral to HART. There's a lot of administrative indirect costs that go along with that. So it came up with about 1.4 million. And then FDOT had a 3-year grant agreement to pay a $700,000 subsidy for the free fares. I did go back to, that expired last year. I went back to FDOT. They worked with us to extend that for one more year. They found us some money. This year, there is no subsidy for the streetcar when it comes to free fares. So we're working with the city of Tampa now. Part of the tri-party agreement, if there's a shortfall in the funding, the city of Tampa would make up that shortfall, or would we do a reduction in service? So we're working with the city. I'm working with the CRAs this week to see if we can come up with that shortfall. And so we can try to keep those fares free. If not, I kind of direct the staff from the board approved last month on the public hearings on reinstating the fare. So we're going to be proactive, utilizing Flamingo. And it is a capital cost to HART because we have to reinstall the fare boxes for the cash option, so.
Okay, very good. And just, I think, 2 more short questions here. The revenue predictions that we've forecasted, aren't we going through a rate study? Is that something that we agreed to after the OPAGA study of one of their suggestions?
I don't believe so. Ms. Kirk, do you have a comment on that? I don't understand the rate study.
A fair study.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. So, and that's actually what we asked the board to approve. Open up the fare policy, looking at the rates, and would it be advantageous to either add the fare, and we would come back to the board and the pros and cons, and if we were going to raise the rates on them.
Because we had talked about it a couple of times in some comparisons. So the current revenue forecast is based off of the current fare structure.
That's correct.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you very much. And finally, let me just find it here. On the bus stops, shelters, on the revenue forecast, I know that Commissioner Myers has put forward an item in the past. I supported it. I don't know in this budget if you've already started forecasting where those are going to go. I would just like to say for the new board members, there was a request by Commissioner Myers for us to allocate a majority of the money towards bus shelters towards her specific commissioner district. I think that would be Councilwoman Henderson's Tampa City Council district. I was supportive of it, and I would just say that the reason I'm supportive of it is because we have had open conversations of this board, honest ones, that the primary riders of this transit organization are not those that are voluntarily needing to ride it. It's those that are involuntarily needing to utilize this transportation system. And I do believe that the majority of them, and we did agree, are in those districts. So I would just encourage as we move forward that I would continue to support that policy to continue to place them in the District 3 commissioners. Thank you very much.
I think
Thank you.
Ms. Kirk wanted to comment.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Drainville and to the board, there is an outstanding issue for the audit, and it came to my mind after you mentioned your fellow board member, and that is the closeout of our 401A plan.
There you go. Okay, so we're good.
That is underway, and matter of fact, Attorney Adams is helping us do that, and I just asked him about it this morning, so we will get right back on that project.
Thank you. Board Member Williams.
I was going to ask about the pension, the 401K, and if it was dissolved.
Oh.
The other question I wanted to ask was on page 6. And Melanie, thank you for the overview. It was very detailed, and I appreciate it. On page 6, where it talks about the wages and fringes, $79 million, is that including, is it the total base salary as well as the time and a half? That's total salary for all employees.
It's total salary, fringes and wages and fringes for ATU and Teamsters, not all employees. It's for operations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I see Board Member Hartfield's hands up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was, just a quick comment. Thank you to Director Wastow and Directors Williams for bringing up the concern that we had mentioned earlier, at an earlier board meeting, I should say. So just a quick comment to say thank you to the other directors for being on top of that.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Anyone else? Okay. Thank you. Oh, yes, sir. Did you? Oh, sorry. Sorry. I don't think we need a motion for this, do we? Or I don't. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate your hard work as always. Next is the most exciting time of our day is the chair's report, or the CEO's report. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning again, board members. So let's start off with our legislative update. I continue to meet with the members of the legislative delegation to update them on the HART priority projects and funding needs. On July 31st, I met with Representative Driscoll, and on August 15th, I'll be meeting with Representative Valdez. On the development of the legislative agenda, the HART team continues to brainstorm with the Holland and Knight, HART's legislative support team, on the proposed legislative agenda for FY25, local, state, and federal priorities. HART Strategic Planning Committee will be meeting on August 19th and forming their recommendations for the full board's approval in September. On July 25th, I attended the board meeting for the Florida Public Transportation Association, or the FPTA. I represent HART as a Tier 1 voting member on that board. It brings the leaders together from all transit agencies across the state of Florida to discuss the items that are of major concern for the transit properties and collectively find solutions. For the board-related, so for the ride-alongs, in response to strong interest from the HART board members for scheduled ride-along opportunities, HART staff is proposing the following options. So Friday, August 16th, from 10 a.m. to 12, meet at the Marion Transit Center, right to Route 6 and the 56th Street. And then the second one is Monday, August 26th, from 1 to 3, meet at the Marion Transit Center, the Route 1 and Florida Avenue. The board members will be invited to meet at the specific locations at the Marion Transit Center and join the customers and the HART team engaging in review of the top productive routes and connect with their riders. The HART team is also finalizing the development of the FY 2025 performance goals. We'll be presenting them for the committee and board's review in the upcoming meetings. I can reveal that this year we will be proposing to add the fifth area of focus, or gold, safety and security, to demonstrate HART's commitment to prioritize a secure work environment, health and wellness, understanding their impact on job satisfaction, absenteeism, and productivity. Our goal is to ensure all customers and employees feel safe and secure using and delivering our services. So on the finance side, the Florida Department of Transportation, FDOT's triennial review was conducted from July 2nd through the 10th with on-site visits. Staff held an exit interview with the reviewers. A draft report with recommendations will be sent to the HART within the next 45 days, and the agency will have between 30 and 60 days to respond to the recommendations, develop caps on any concerns, determine a reasonable timeline for implementation, and then submit back to FDOT. HART Pathways to Business Expo. Staff continues to plan the expo, a DBE SBE forum scheduled for August 15th at between 2 and 5 p.m. at the Children's Board. This is the second year that the Pathways to Business Expo has been hosted by HART. Staff members will be on hand to inform and educate participants on ways to contract with HART. The event will be advertised this month in the Florida Sentinel and the La Gazzetta newspaper. On the administrative side, regarding the union negotiations, both are ongoing with the ATU and the Teamsters. Both CBAs do expire the last day of September. And for employee engagement, the One HART team Beat the Heat was held on Friday, July 19th. I want to emphasize the importance of coming together as a team, taking a moment to connect and celebrate each other's hard work. This time of year is more than barbecues. It's a reminder to take care of ourselves and each other, especially as many work tirelessly outdoors in the heat. A dietitian from Tampa General Hospital was a guest speaker. He engaged the employees in conversations about health health and wellness. And before I conclude, today I just received the new community report. I did ask staff last minute try to get this together. We normally do an annual report, but I passed this around just to show, and I'm very happy and pleased that staff could get this together. And one last thing I would like to comment on, and I'm going to break my own rules here. I know we don't comment on public comment, but when you use specific buzzwords like retaliation, I'm personally offended by that. And I want to just clarify the comments on Mr. McCarthy, who was brought in for his expertise and knowledge. The policy that went out from him was an existing policy that stood for many years. It's nothing new. And talk about the cell phones. As I stated, we just had a state FDOT audit, and part of that audit, they asked to review 3 virtual ride-alongs with the operators, and all 3, the operators came up on their cell phones, which not only non-compliance with 1490, but it's a state law. This is why that came out, so we wanted to reiterate that there's a policy in place, and it has nothing to do with retaliation. So with that, I'll take any questions, and that will conclude my report.
Yes.
I was just going to say, I read this as, hey, don't be on your cell phones when you're operating a vehicle, so.
Anybody else? Okay. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you, sir. Okay, next for the chair's report, in your packets, you'll see a draft letter included for the board's consideration for approval to send to the leadership of Uber regarding their policies and service animals. Our disability committee we had met with them on some concerns with Uber with regards to service animals. And if everyone has had a chance to review the letter, and if you need more time, please let me know. But I would ask for a motion, if deemed appropriate by the board, to approve this letter to go out to Uber. If you guys want time to look at it or have any questions, please.
I'll just say very brief. Do we pay Uber money? Do we do any form of?
Uber is a subcontractor from our Yellow Cab contract.
Okay, well, I would just say this, many people don't know, but until February of 2021, I had a medical service dog until intestinal cancer took him from me. And so I hope that they're not refusing legitimate service dogs.
No.
I would say the board, on the other hand, though, a huge problem with those of us with qualified medical service dogs that has happened in society is these emotional service dogs that are not trained and make it extremely difficult for those of us with legitimate service dogs to move around in public. So I would want to, I know that there's restrictions on place for asking for proof of the qualifications of that dog, but I would just say that I hope that Uber is not violating legitimate ones, but I don't want us to promote illegitimate emotional service dogs. So I just will say that on the record. Thank you.
Yes, sir. And this letter contemplates obviously being consistent with established law as to legitimate service dogs that are properly authorized and sanctioned by law and whatnot. Any other questions on this? Okay. If the board feels appropriate, may I have a motion for this, because I can't send this out without.
So moved.
Thank you. We have a motion by Board Member Sisler, seconded by Vice Chair Wosel. Roll call, please.
Director Cameron Cepeda?
Yes.
Director Hartfield?
Yes.
Director Henderson?
Yes.
Director Hobbs?
Yes.
Director King?
Yes.
Director Knight? Yes. Director McAlpatrick?
Yes.
Director Mechanic?
Yes.
Director Miller?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Chair Vieira?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Wolstel?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Board, for that. And nothing else from my side other than I hope everybody was safe with this storm, and we're not past storm season yet, so be well in that regard. And I believe early voting starts today, so make sure to vote. And I say that doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Federalist, Anti-Federalist, Whig Party, whatever you are, please go out there and vote. That's very, very important. So, so that's it on my end. HART Board Council's report is next. Ms. McLean, if you have anything, ma'am.
Yes, yes, Mr. Chair, thank you very much. I have 2 items. One is the HART number 9A, HART representation on the Transportation Planning Organization. Ms. Mandel had been asked to get some answers to some questions that had been raised by the board last time. And the board had decided to, well, there was a discussion, I looked at the minutes as far as the terminology as far as vacating. Right now, we have a vacant position on TPO. There is, one of the questions that was asked is there is no obligation to fill that position. It does not affect the bylaws. I saw that was part of the discussion last month as well. But that the decision for the board is to whether to appoint a member and an alternate to the board of directors. The board typically meets on the second Wednesday of each month at 10 a.m. if that takes into consideration as far as an appointment to that board. But it's up to our board of directors to determine whether they would fill that vacancy or not.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions or thoughts? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I did want to clarify that there are two members of our board that already serve on TPO, but they represent the county, so they could not also represent HART. So it would have to be someone other than Commissioner Meyer, Commissioner Wass. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any comments or questions from board members on that? Okay. I know I served on TPO for 2.5 years, and it was some of the worst times of my life. No, I'm joking. It's not a fun board. It's my tour of duty. So, anything else, ma'am? Go ahead, if so. Oh, was that it, Ms. McLean?
Yes,
okay,
sir.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
That was all on that topic. I have one other item under
I was going to say, go ahead.
Okay, so there is no discussion or motion with regard to filling the vacancy on TPO. We just want to leave it silent as it stands right now? Yes, I'll take silence as a. I do have one administrative type item.
And if I may, I apologize. I don't know if this is to your first point. I see Board Member Meyer's hands up. Go ahead, ma'am, if you wish to speak.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it's important that we go ahead and appoint someone from HART, whether it's HART staff. I know Justin Willis attended the TPO meeting. I serve as chair, and it is important that when we're voting, that whomever representing HART has the information that can support HART to the best of any decision that we're making as it relates to the TPO and how TPO is moving forward. In other words, I'm saying that someone that has the insight, depth, and knowledge of the agency to serve on the board. We know it's a conflict for CEO Drainfield to be there. He's already expressed that, but we do need to fill that position so that it doesn't remain vacant as we do have with the Port of Tampa and TPA. Those are my comments.
Thank you. If I could, Mr. Chair, just
Yes, ma'am.
following up on that, part of the conversation at the last meeting was for the position, if it was to be filled by one of the board of directors, with staff being an advisory member, so that there wouldn't be the conflict or the for sunshine concerns. So I think that's where we left it. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the conversation was to take Mr. Drainfield out of that position because of the conflict, but also to put one of the board members, if one desired, into the position with staff in an advisory role.
Thank you, ma'am. And I see Mr. Hartfield, or Board Member Hartfield's hand up. Go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chair, in the interest of representing our board, I would be open to filling that slot on behalf of HART.
Okay.
Just a general point of order.
Yes, sir. And then Board Member Williams, and then Knight.
just because this isn't a board agenda item, this is something that we should probably bring back at
Yeah.
a future board meeting.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, ma'am, and then Board Member Knight.
I was going to second, no, Hartfield as a board member, as a member of the TBO. I thought that was a motion.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, great board meeting. I was just going to pretty much, Commissioner Walter, the same thing is nobody else have an interest, or you had means to appoint it, however.
Okay.
Nobody else, I don't think, interested.
Yes, sir. So unless if there's anybody else, Ms. McLean, can this be brought back at a later time as Vice Chair Wilsel suggested, or is that, what's the proper method for this?
That would probably be the best idea, is to have it as an agenda item for the next board meeting.
Okay. So may I have then a motion to have that put on the agenda for next week?
Next month.
Move to put that in the agenda, the
Yes, sir.
appointment for the TPO in the next agenda item.
Yes, sir. We have a motion by Board Member Schisler, first, second, I believe, by Board Member Williams. Roll call, please.
Director Cameron Cepeda,
Yes.
Director Hartfield,
Yes.
Director Henderson,
Yes.
Director Hobbs,
Yes.
Director King,
Yes.
Director Knight,
Yes.
Director McAlpatrick,
Yes.
Director Mechanic,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Myers,
Yeah.
Director Schisler,
Yes.
Chair Vieira,
Yes.
Director Williams,
Yes.
Director Wolstel.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Board. Ms. McLean, anything else, ma'am, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I have one other item under Board Council, and that's item number 9B. It's an administrative action. We have a resolution number R 2024-0724, and there is a Scrivener's error within the amount in the resolution that I would like a motion from the board to allow for the correction of the Scrivener's error. If I could, the amount that's in the resolution now is $450,588, and it should be $30 less, $450,558. So if I could have a motion just to correct that resolution, that would take care of this item.
May we have a motion to that effect?
Move to approve the Scrivener's error and resolution R 2024-07-25.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Schisler. Do we have a second? Did I hear a second? Board Member Knight, roll call, please.
Director Cameron Cepeda,
Yes.
Director Hartfield,
What is the difference between the school?
Director Hartfield, Director
And,
Henderson,
and if I may, somebody has their microphone on and they're speaking, so if you could silence yourself, if you don't mind. Thank you. Go ahead.
Director Hartfield,
Yes.
Director Hobbs,
He said,
Director Hobbs,
Yes.
thank you. Director King,
Yes.
Director Knight,
Yes.
Director McAlpatrick,
Yes.
Director Mechanic,
Yes.
Director Miller,
Yes.
Director Myers,
yes.
Director Schisler,
Yes.
You did not get my vote.
And again, whoever is speaking, if you could please
Excuse me, I
silence
did not
yourself.
vote because.
Oh, okay,
I
you
did
were
not
trying to be
vote
recognized.
Because you started speaking when she called for me to vote. So I just wanted to be on record.
Is that
That I
Board
said
Member
yes.
Henderson?
That is Board Member
Okay.
Henderson, Director Henderson, yes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Director Henderson, how would you like to vote?
I said yes.
Thank you, ma'am. Chair Vieira,
Yes.
Director Williams,
Yes.
Director Wolstel.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, anything further, Ms. McLean?
No, that would be all for my report. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, and we wish you well getting back here to Tampa. HART Board, and by the way, I want to make sure nobody else wishes to speak. I see some hands raised, but I think that's just by accident. Okay, just making sure. HART Board Committee reports are in Section 10, information reports are in 11. I would like to draw, as to old business, your attention to the report from Director King, who was kind enough to attend the APTA Transit Board Members Seminar in July of this year. Director King, we thank you for doing that, and would you like to add anything, sir, to your report that is in the package, sir?
Yes, thank you. It was my privilege and my pleasure to attend the APTA conference in San Jose, California. It was a very worthwhile and productive experience. I would encourage any member of the board who's not attended one of these sessions to consider it. You'll learn a lot, and you'll meet a lot of people who are working on contemporary boards to ours. And it's worth building the relationships going forward over time that we do that. I think that's important. There are also a number of opportunities coming up and over the course of the year. There's a legislative session in April or in spring up in Washington, and there's an annual conference that the APTA puts on. And I think those are also worthwhile things to consider participating in. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. Any other old business? Any new business by any board members? Okay. There being apparently none, this concludes all business for today for the HART Board. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, HART members and the public, for coming out here today in this weather. We appreciate you and hope everybody stays safe. Thank you.